I do what I want when I want from wherever I choose to be in the world, with the people I choose to be with, by delivering value in exchange for revenue and profit. And that obviously allows me to then design my life and live life on my own terms.
What are some of those very first basic things you need to do, or that you need to know, or that you need to prepare for, to really set yourself up for success when you're building a business?
What I learned from school was human behavior. And I think that's a really important thing, right? It's like, how do people interact? How do they talk? We're always negotiating, right? Who plays football? Who plays on which team? And when do we play? And what do we do after? And who's going to make the decisions? So I think that I did learn that at school, how to take control of a conversation, how to persuade. And I think these are really important elements, because let's say you're skillful at something. You've focused on a craft or a skill, and you've built up some competence through school, college, university, work, career, whatever it is. Business is, how do I get customer? That's business. You can be a great musician, but if you can't fill your venue, no one's going to listen to your music. You could be a great chef, but if no one comes to your restaurant. So really, I always talk about solopreneurs needing to know two things. They need to have something of value to offer the market, which is, what are you good at? What is the point of view in a business sense? And then the second is, you need to know how to find customers. And most people fail with the latter. Some people are really good at finding customers, but they suck at delivering.
We call those scams.
And it's short-termism, and it only really works if you don't need a customer to stay with you, and if you're not relying on reviews and reputation and things like that. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
So for people who are just starting to make this transition, or maybe they've already made the transition, but they're struggling to really systematize it and be successful with it, what are those first just base level things that we need to do in order to set ourselves up, or even just the mindset? Like, how do we need to approach this so that we can be successful as fast as possible?
I think we can start at mindset. I think that's an important thing. You're in the game of failure. You're going to fail. And if you can't handle that, then that's already a mindset problem. The second thing is entitlement. Everything I speak from is from my own experience. I'm not finger wagging. I went through this process. Entitlement. Like, I'm entitled to getting paid. I'm entitled to people seeing the value. I'm entitled to people responding to me and my outreach and my adverts and my website. And I'm entitled to that. Why? Why are you entitled to it? Like, this is all from a mindset perspective. You have to understand that, or I had to understand that the market doesn't care about any of my feelings, assumptions, beliefs, values, principles, wants, desires, goals. She doesn't care. All she cares about is, do you have something that's going to help her, the market? Do you have something of value to present the market that's going to enhance our way, essentially to improve our way of living? That's what business is. You're going to produce a product or a service that's going to make my life better. And the market's constantly asking that question. That's the only feedback that matters. Not your mom, not this mom test thing, or your mentor or your friends, or the focus group where no one paid anything and they said they would, but they never will. It's like, all of this is just noise. So what I would do differently, maybe that's a better way of answering the question, Todd, if I was to start again today, is I would come up with one offer and test it in the market as quickly as possible, expecting failure and feedback, and being open to the feedback and being able to adapt to the feedback. That's the mindset that you need. I want to be open to whatever the market tells me. And if I pay attention, I'll know what I need to do to get that offer marketable. And if I get that offer marketable, now I can start to sell it. It's like, that's the only approach or attitude about your business that you need to have at the beginning, I think. Some people also don't build the competence in the right way. They learn how to cook, but not in a busy restaurant. And then they think, now I'm ready for business. It's like, but you don't have the in-game experience where the stadium is full and the pressure is on and you're competing against, you just went to practice. And that's another thing I always say to people. I go, how do you know that you're able to handle the work, the tempo? It's easy doing a project in your own time. It's much harder when you have 5 or 6 clients with deadlines. And a lot of people don't expose themselves to that pressure either before they go in to the lion's den. And that's a big problem too.
So one of the things you mentioned was putting an offer out there and getting the feedback. How do you suggest people do that?
I will say is I look at offers differently. I don't look at the offer as when we talk about building the offer, I think we're building the delivery mechanism. And what I mean by that is the offer is the outcome. And I don't think you need to build that. I think you need to identify an outcome that people want. So for example, if my outcome is I'm going to show you how to lose 20 pounds in 90 days, that's the outcome. If someone says, I want you to help me do that, what you're talking about is we're going to build the mechanism that's going to allow them to achieve that outcome. So what I often tell people is the offer is the outcome. Test that. See if that hooks people in, and then figure out how you're going to deliver them the outcome. And actually, the best way to test an offer is to guarantee the outcome. I will do everything I can to getting you that outcome. And if I don't, you don't pay, or you get your money back, or I'll work with you until we do, or whatever, some form of risk reverse, right? So the idea is, this is what I tell solopreneurs. Why would you limit your time, your resource, your competence, your skill set, your network? Why would you limit any of that? When I get on sales calls and someone says to me, what's the curriculum? I say, your commitment is the curriculum. If you're committed to getting the outcome and you're willing to do whatever it takes, I'll match that commitment. And if we don't get the outcome, you're not going to be out of pocket. And that's the best way to test the market, because if they say no to that, you've got no chance when you limit the time and limit and no guarantee. You got no chance.
So how do you get the word out there when you want to test something? How do you get people in? Are you running paid ads? Are you
knock on doors? I mean, look, Airbnb, we're still knocking. They raised 35 million or something, and they were still knocking on doors, telling people, hey, have you seen our app? And you got to knock on doors. You got to outreach, right? And outreach is, you got social media. And I used to do this door to door. I'm sure you are familiar with this world too, Todd, pre-internet. I had to go door to door and knock and ask, are you interested in this? Or go to meetups or networking events or festivals or conferences or seminars to just say to people, hey, this is what I can do. On social media now, you can, I use LinkedIn. You can reach out to 200 new people every single week. And then when they connect, ask them if they're interested in getting this outcome that you think you can get them, and test it by proactive door knocking. That's how I do it. I don't spend money on ads. I don't rely on content, even though I create content because it allows me to develop my brand and my ideas and test ideas. But I don't rely on content to bring in inbound or anything like that. If that happens, great. But I see it as the build it and they will come. I always have this joke. I'm like, you're not the Romans. You're not going to build it and they will come. No one cares about your store or your website or your Instagram, but no one cares. No one's going to just come and look for you.
We take that next step into actually getting into profitability, maybe getting to a point where we can quit a job and do the business full time.
I just had a talk with someone, and she's a teacher, and she said, I want to quit my teaching job. And I said, okay, what do you need to do? She goes, well, I need to balance my salary. So if I'm making the same salary as I was from my solopreneur venture, I can quit my teaching job. And I said, is there anything you can do now to buy you some time? And she said, I can do supply teaching. I can stop full-time teaching and I can do supply teaching. I said, why don't you just do that then? She goes, because I lose the holiday pay. So I said, how much are you losing? And she said, oh, $7,500 in the holiday pay. I said, so all you need to do is make $7,500 and you can quit teaching and become a supply teacher. And she went, oh, I never thought of that. She was thinking about the money that she needs to make to replace her job, when actually all she needs to do is buy more time. That's what we can't create, time. We can create money, but we can't create time. So, and the reason I'm telling you this is you have to figure out how much money you need to survive first. And that becomes your first target. Then you need to figure out how to scale that. And usually people can't scale that because of time. So how we scale it is price. So the way I do price always is charge the smallest number that you think makes this valuable, the smallest number that you think people are willing to pay. And if they buy it, go up immediately. So this is what people are always scared about. And I've seen them make this mistake where they charge too high and they have to come down. So you want to build up, but you have to be smart about how much money do you need to survive. And then what's the most you can charge at the moment that you think it will sell for, without getting greedy, without thinking about the profit now. You need to think about the marketing, not the profit. Profit will come later. And I think that's what I would do always. It's like the car, you buy an expensive car, you're like watching it and you're polishing it and you're parking properly, and you buy a crappy little car, you're like, it doesn't matter. It's the same idea, right? It's the greater the investment, the greater the sacrifice, the more you're going to buy in. I used to think it was the opposite. I thought the most expensive clients are going to be the toughest. It's exactly the opposite.
I was going to say that car analogy too. You think about someone who's buying a cheap used car, and they're going to haggle with you on the price until they get that extra $150 off for the used car, versus somebody who's going in to buy a brand new Lamborghini. Do they haggle with the price? No.
They do the add-ons, they do the extra. Yeah, add that and add that and add that. Yeah.
As soon as they buy it, they'll go get the custom paint job.
Yeah,
you know,
right. I agree. Look, it's also this idea about understanding the value. If I pay a lot of money, I understand the value. Now, of course, you have to deliver. Like, let's not sit here and pretend. Just charge a lot of money and don't deliver, and they'll be happy. Because, of course, you have to deliver. But this is my point also about value. Like, what kind of value are you bringing? The value has to be insane compared to the price, in my opinion. It has to be so much more valuable. They have to say, I can't believe I'm getting all this. And if you have that idea from your clients that they can't believe it, they'll forever be grateful for the opportunity to develop themselves and get to where they want to get to forever.
If people want to connect with you online and check you out, where can they find you?
So just Google Mo Choice. There's only one. And I'm mainly on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you are.